Good evening, friends. Welcome to EduTap. Friends, in this video, we are going to discuss answer evaluation framework for RBI Grade B 2021 examination for both ESI and FM sections of the examination. We know that descriptive section has been newly added to our examination, and therefore there is a lot of, you may say, some amount of confusion, some amount of uncertainty or anxiety amongst aspirants as to how exactly should they approach this component of descriptive answer writing, and how to basically write a good answer. What are the elements of good answers? What is it that the examiner will look so far as the questions are concerned, so far as the answers are concerned, as to what will the examiner look for when he will be or she will be looking at our copies. These are some of the things that we need to discuss in this video, and that is why we are going to present to you an answer evaluation framework that we believe can be very helpful for you in understanding that how to write a good answer. So that is something that we are going to discuss in this video. Let us take things ahead. So EduTap is bringing a lot of free content for your preparation for various examinations. You should subscribe to our YouTube channel for regular updates for all the videos that we are releasing for your preparation. And corresponding to all videos that we are providing via our YouTube channel, we are providing notes for those videos, for those lectures via our Telegram channel. So if you are preparing for any of these examinations, whether it is RBI, NABARD, SEBI, EPFO, IB, any of these examinations, then you should subscribe to EduTap's YouTube as well as Telegram channel. We have been able to produce consistent results by the grace of God, by the hard work of students and by the hard work of our teams. You can see that in RBI Grade B, NABARD Gr A as well as in SEBI Gr A, we have been able to produce a consistent stream of results, and we plan to do that going ahead as well, and we are working towards that, and we hope that you are also working very hard towards your own results. We hope to see your name in this EduTap's Hall of Fame. Let us discuss this descriptive answer writing framework so that we can feature in this Hall of Fame, so that we can clear the examination that is going to come ahead. We have launched a good number of courses which are available through our website for RBI Grade B, NABARD Grade A, NABARD Grade B, SEBI Grade A as well as EPFO examination. You should enroll into these courses, and the good news is that if you are preparing for the phase 2 examination, we are offering a 50% discount until 20th of March, 20 March 2021. So if you are preparing for the new pattern, for the new syllabus of ESI, FM and descriptive English, this course will be very helpful for you, and you can also avail a 50% discount on this course. Keep this in mind. Now let us begin. Let us take things ahead. So the idea that I am going to present to you, it may appear that this idea is more inclined towards when the actual answers were written rather than typed, but don't be under that misconception. If you are going to type out an answer, okay, there is a very good probability that that answer probably may be printed and be provided to the examiner for checking purposes, right? We don't know exactly how that happens, but logically speaking, given the fact that the examiner will have to correct a lot of copies, right? So there is a lot of possibility that the examiner may get a printed version of your answer copies, okay? In any which scenario, right, the ideas that I'm going to present to you are going to be very helpful. Please try and understand these ideas. Let us assume that your answer is going to be printed on a sheet like this, right? I know that you are not writing on a sheet like this. I know that it is not exactly the same, but your presentation has to be good, no matter whether it is written or typed or whatever it is. So let us assume that you're typing something, and that typed something is going to be presented to the examiner for checking purposes. So it should look neat, it should look clean, and that is what I'm going to discuss with you, right? So I'm going to make use of this kind of a framework to explain to you that what are the elements of a good answer, right? So let us say that you have written an answer, and that gets, let us say, printed on a sheet of paper and get presented to the examiner, right? Let us say that there is a sample question. Now when you come across a question in the examination, you should focus upon the keywords. The first thing that you should do is that you should read the question very carefully. You should understand what are the dimensions that are being asked in that question. Is that question a unidimensional question for a 10 mark, or maybe is it a multi-dimensional question for maybe a 15 marker, right? So you should be very clearly understanding that what are the dimensions of the question. We have discussed this, particularly Anchit sir has discussed this very well in his videos, that in a question there can be micro questions that you can identify. For example, let us say that you're talking about the problem of non-performing assets in the country, right? So let us say that there is a question, a broad-based question on non-performing asset, and you can very clearly identify that there are at least 3 micro questions that can be seen in this overall macro question. Those three micro questions can be: what is the root cause of problem of non-performing asset, what are the solutions that are on table, right, or which have been implemented to tackle the problem of non-performing asset, and what are the futuristic solution, or what are the long-term solutions, so that we can make sure that this problem is taken care of in a beautiful manner, right? So the idea that I'm trying to present to you is that whenever you read a question, do not be in a hurry to jump into writing answer immediately. Collect your thoughts, collect everything that you have read, remember the key words, remember the key ideas that you have read, understand the various dimensions of the questions, focus upon the key words that have been presented to you as a part of the question, and then proceed towards writing the answer, right? Now when you are going to start writing your answer, it is very important that you start in the right manner. The start is very, very important. Why? Because as an examiner, if I read your paper, the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to read the first 2 or 3 lines. And if you can clearly indicate to me that in the first 2-3 lines you have clearly understood what the question is all about, and you can also indicate to me what is going to come ahead, right? If you can give me some kind of a positive indication, if you can give me some kind of a feel good factor through your introduction, that will be very, very good. So start with focus on the topic or the theme of the question. In tomorrow's video, Anchit sir is going to discuss with you in good detail as to how you should write a very powerful introduction. I am not going to get into the subject matter of that video, but all I am going to emphasize right now over here is that starting with a good introduction is very, very important. And please tune into Anchit sir's video tomorrow to understand how to write a good introduction. But writing a good introduction is very, very important, and it sort of conveys to the examiner that yes, you have understood the demand of the question, and therefore if he is making a favorable start, if he is not irritated by in reading your introduction, that can be considered to be a job well done. So keep that in mind, right? So this is about a little about introduction. Let us move ahead. Let us assume that in your question there are, let us say, 2 or 3 dimensions that are being asked. Let us say that there are 2 dimensions being asked. Let us say they are asking you maybe a cause of a problem, and they are probably asking you a solution for the problem. Let us assume, very typical, very straightforward. It can be anything else also. For example, it can be something like, let us talk about crime against women in India, which is a part of economics and social issues. Okay, so they can ask you the trend of crime against women in India, and they can probably ask you solutions related to that, or they can ask you maybe something related to the causes of crime, rising trend of crime against women in India, and what can be the probable solutions for that. So the idea is that in a given question, there is a possibility that there may be multiple dimensions that you can identify, right? And whatever multiple dimensions you are identifying, you should present them to the examiner in the form of this subheading. So let us say that you are dealing with, let us say, causes of a problem. Okay, so you should clearly mention that, okay, causes of XYZ over here, and you should very clearly mention solutions for XYZ over here. Very clearly you should mention your subheading. So when you're typing, how can you do that? You can just hit enter after giving the subheading. Now it depends upon what kind of a format they present to you, what kind of a answer writing tool they present to you, right? So if they allow you to make underlining of the text, if they allow you to bold the text, if they allow you to do any of these things, you can do that. If you can sort of hit caps on and give your subheading in caps on, that means if you can give your heading in capital on, right? So that will also indicate to the examiner very clearly that okay, you have dealt with various parts of this question, right? As an examiner, if you want to make my life easy, you should very clearly indicate to me that you have answered this question comprehensively, completely. And how can you do that? By presenting subheadings and by communicating to me very clearly that I have taken care of all parts of this question, right? Moving ahead. Subheading to start each part of the question you have understood, and you should match these subheadings with the question. So for example, you will come across various keywords in the question, right? So like we talked about NPA or rising crime against women or something like that. So you will be very clearly be able to identify the keywords in the question, that what are the problems, what are the causes, what are the solution, what is the trend, what is the way out, right? So these are the keywords, the trend, the way out. This is what the examiner is asking for. This is what द ग्राहक जो कंज्यूमर है वो ये मांग रहा है. So as a supplier, as a provider, it is your job to provide what the consumer is asking for. So the examiner is the consumer and you are the service provider. तो वो जो मांग रहा है उसको दे दो वो चीज और बहुत क्लियरली उसको बता कर दो, सब हेडिंग लगाकर उसको क्लियरली बता कर दो कि देखिए सर मैडम आपने ये चीजें मांगी थी और मैंने आपको ये चीजें सप्लाई कर दी है. Right, that is the beauty of subheading. It is all about communication. Okay, moving ahead, when you are writing within these subheadings, how should you present your thoughts? What is the best way of presenting your thoughts? The best way of presenting your thoughts is by giving these kind of numerals, right? For example, it is best, right, to write in a point wise format. Many a times it is best to write in the point wise format, right? So if you want to write probably 5 causes or 5 consequences or 5 solutions or 5 points related to trends or 5 suggestions or maybe 5 schemes related to the problem that we are discussing or the issue that we are discussing, so it is always very helpful if you can write in 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 something like that. There are two advantages of this. Okay, the first advantage is for ourselves, that we can make sure that every word that we are typing is a step ahead in the right direction. We are moving ahead with the idea. We are not repeating things. We are not wasting words. And for the examiner, how is it helpful? Let us say that I am the examiner. How is it helpful for me? It is very helpful for me if I can very clearly see that for this part, this candidate has given 5.7 points. For this part, he has given 5.7 points. For this part, she has given me 5 points or 7 points. So it is very easy for me to convince myself to give you marks, right? So if I have to be the judge of your paper, it is easy for me to pass a judgment that yes, your paper is well answered given the fact that you have given subheadings catering to various parts of the question, and within those subheadings you have written answers numerically pointed, right? So that sort of indicates to me that you have given me a lot of content, you have given me a lot of ideas, and therefore I should be kind enough to give marks to you. Right, so you should write probably in the point format as much as possible depending upon the demand of the question. If you want to give sub points, you can do that as well, right? So depending upon the demand of the question, if there is a demand to give sub points, you can do that, right? That will give a very clear idea to the examiner that you are very well prepared, you are very well structured, you are very thorough. It will not matter कि आपने 5 पॉइंट दिए या 6 पॉइंट दिए, वो कोई ऐसे हिसाब लगाने नहीं बैठा कि 5 पॉइंट मिल रहे हैं या 6 पॉइंट मिल रहे हैं, 5 पॉइंट मिल रहे तो 2 मार्क्स दूंगा, 6 पॉइंट मिल रहे तो 2.25 मार्क्स दूंगा. ऐसी सब चीप हरकतें एग्जामिनर नहीं करने वाला है. इट इज जस्ट गिविंग अ वेरी स्ट्रक्चर्ड फीलिंग टू द एंटायर पेपर that you are giving. Number the points. No need for proper sentences. Please do not try to give Shakespearean sentences over there or Charles don't try to become an author over there. This is not your English paper. English paper is English paper and ESI and FM is ESI and FM. So when you are dealing with ESI and FM, no need for proper sentences. It just that doesn't mean that you start writing in vernacular languages. That doesn't mean that you give मतलब code words के अंदर आपने आंसर लिख दिया है. But you can do away with a lot of long sentences and keep things very short and simple to the point, right? Let us say that you can write a sentence like for example, let us say that you're talking about the problems faced by workers working in the informal sector of the economy. Let us take that example. So let us say that you are talking about their problems and you can write that unsafe working conditions, right, colon, accident prone, comma, safety and hazard regulations ignored, full stop, something like that, right? So what you have done is that if you were to present this idea that I just said as a proper sentence, it will take a lot of words, it will take a lot of space, it will take a lot of time, and that neither of these things are available to you, right? You do not have the space, you do not have the time, and you do not have anything on those lines, right? So what you can do is that you can condense your ideas into proper words, into keywords, and sort of place them in a systematic manner. That is the idea behind me saying that there is no urgent need for proper sentences, which doesn't mean that you can make grammatical mistakes, which doesn't mean that your sentences are absolutely wrong in the introduction and conclusion from a grammar point of view, which doesn't mean that typing mistakes are allowed. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying asking you to use short forms, WhatsApp abbreviations use nahi karne exam ke andar, hai na, be right back, BRB, all that nonsense I'm not talking about. But what I'm trying to say is that you can do away with your proper long formal sentences and you can concentrate your ideas into shorter sentences, and if possible you can highlight your keywords. So depending upon the format that they provide to you, if you can highlight keywords, highlight them. If you can have the sense, or if you can have the time that you can sort of hit shift and type, so that will make your keywords capital on, it will sort of that, so that will be very helpful to attract attention of the examiner towards the keywords, right? So that can be very helpful. If you can try that out while practicing, that will be very good. What are certain value addition elements that you should try to incorporate in your answers? Give the statistics, not all statistics, but give the most important statistics. Like for example, if you're talking about crime against women, and if you can present certain statistics, the most important statistics, what are the percentages, or which is the most frequently reported crime, or which is the crime which is fastest growing in numbers, or something like that, that will be helpful. If you're talking about non-performing assets, numbers are always going to be helpful, right? So if possible, present the most obvious statistics related to that area. We are not expecting, nobody is expecting you to present statistics after statistics after statistics. That will become very boring, and nobody wants to read that either. But if you can present the most important statistics related to the area that you are dealing with, that will be very helpful. If you can talk about schemes and reports related to the area, that will be helpful. Case studies will be helpful, and if you can integrate current affairs within this answer, that will be very, very helpful. That will be immensely helpful, because all these pointers, these value addition elements, they sort of help in justifying your stand. They help in clarifying your stand. They clearly indicate to the examiner that you are very thoroughly prepared for this kind of an examination, and that indicates a very positive kind of a image about you to the examiner. So try to incorporate these value addition elements. Now please do not misinterpret. I am not saying that you should put these value addition elements at the end of your, maybe towards the end of your answer. No, I am not saying that. You can probably include a statistic here, you can probably include a report here, you can probably integrate some amount of case study over here or something over here. What I'm trying to say is that these value addition elements should find a place in your answer. That is what I'm trying to say, right? So it's very important to interpret what I'm saying in the right manner. So this comprises your main body, right? So this entire thing after the introduction, let us say from subheading 1 up till let us say the end of subheading 2, this comprises your main body. In your main body, you should be able to cater to the main demand of the question. That is what main body is all about. Going ahead in the coming days, we are going to conduct a session on how to write a good body of the answer. You please tune into that video also, because in that we will be probably discussing this in greater detail with some examples for clarity of thought, right? And finally, you should always give a conclusion to your answer. Why is conclusion very important? Please do not end things abruptly. Let us say that you suddenly, stop writing over here, right? You suddenly stop writing at this point. How will the examiner know that the answer is complete? And if he doesn't know the answer is complete, he will try to probably flip the page and see कि आगे क्या आने वाला है. And when he will see कि आगे कुछ नहीं आ रहा है, he may get irritated. Just imagine that you are watching your favorite episode of Friends and suddenly after 18 minutes light चली जाती है और last 4 मिनट का आप नहीं देख पाते हो. How will you feel? You will not feel good, right? It's just as simple as that. Human psychology, right? So it is always good to end your answer with a conclusion, which can be a way forward, which can be a need of the hour, which can be a suggestion, and try as much as you can that this last part of your answer is progressive, visionary, optimistic, solution oriented, and forward looking. Please do not start crying in the solution. Please do not start complaining in the solution. Please do not in the conclusion. Please do not start abusing in the conclusion. Please do not be very, very negative or regressive or any of these things or pessimistic in the conclusion. Try to be solution oriented. Even if you are discussing a problem, try to end with a solution. If you are discussing a subject, as critical as crime against women or non-performing assets, these are major problems, right? Nobody is denying that, right? I'm not denying that. You are not denying that. The examiner is not denying that. But you can end with probable solutions. You can end with policy steps or suggestions that indicates that we are here to solve problems, and problem solvers are always appreciated in any organization. So if you are vying for a post in the Reserve Bank of India, and if you can be a problem solver for the bank, that will be very, very helpful for the economy, right? So that should sort of reflect in the way you are sort of handling things. Do not be very negative. Do not be very pessimistic. So these are some points. Now, of course, you have to type of course you have to type your answer, and I have tried as hard as possible to indicate to you that how even within the typing framework, even within the the digital framework, how you can sort of use these elements to present your answer. And if your answer is well presented, that is very helpful. Let me give you one short example to further cement my point. Let us say that you go into a restaurant, when you ask for the menu, okay, and when you open the menu and you are flipping through the menu, so you see very clearly that vegetarian section is on the one hand, right? Then there is a non-vegetarian section, then there is probably a section dedicated towards desserts, probably there is a section dedicated towards hard drinks or something like that. So you see that everything that is on offer is arranged systematically, right? Now even within, let us say, whatever is available for the vegetarian diet, right? So the idea is that even within that they will give you that, okay, these kinds of breads are available, or these kind of vegetables are available, or these kind of dals are available, or these kind of rices or noodles are available, or so on and so forth. And even within that they will categorize things in a systematic manner. Now just imagine that when you ask for a menu, instead of this well categorized menu, I threw a menu at you in which everything has been mixed together. So after one hard drink I am giving gulab jamun, ke baad I am giving raita, ke baad I am giving pulao, ke baad I am giving sabji, ke baad I am giving paratha, and everything is all mixed up. Will you enjoy that? Will you be able to make sense out of that menu? No, you will not be able to make sense out of that menu. So what did the restaurant owner do for you? He ensured that the menu is presented in a proper manner to you. That is the kind of courtesy that you should have even towards the examiner. The examiner has come into your restaurant, right? And you have to serve him properly. You have to ensure that he understands what is on offer. That is the kind of blueprint that you should have. Be very, very systematic as much as possible in presenting your thoughts, right? So this is something about answer writing. Now if I have to sort of be very, very particular and point out to you that, okay, what are the things that have to surely be there as an element in your answer. So what is a good answer? So it depends upon content and it depends upon presentation. Even in the typed format, even in the digital format, the presentation is very, very important. It is very, very crucial. Okay, so far as content is concerned, you have to focus upon coverage. You have to give a balanced answer, and your answer has to be authentic. These are certain elements that I am going to talk about briefly. Already I have touched upon it, but still I will clarify it further for you. When I talk about presentation, there are two aspects. There is the linguistic aspect, the language aspect, and then there are certain non-linguistic elements of your answer which make it a good answer. Now I'm going to elaborate upon all of these 5 points, and once the elaboration is done, you can take a screenshot and keep it for yourself so that you can guide yourself better going ahead. Right now, when we talk about content and when specifically we talk about coverage, it is your duty to answer what has been asked. Many a times it happens that something has been asked, but we have no idea about that something, but we have the idea about something which is completely dramatically different from that, right? Now even if we have no idea about what has been asked and we have some idea about what has not been asked, and anyhow we write anything that we know, that can be harmful for us in the examination. At some point of time, I may have said in one of my earlier videos that at no cost you should leave your answer unattempted or blank or incomplete. What I mean is that try as hard as possible to be very close to what the question has asked you. राइट, सो इफ अ क्वेश्चन इज आस्क्ड यू समथिंग, प्लीज आंसर दैट. कई बार कैसा होता है कि स्टूडेंट्स ने कुछ बहुत अच्छी चीज पढ़ी होती है, बहुत ज्यादा अच्छी चीज बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ी होती है, राइट, और एग्जाम में वो जाते हैं, बहुत अच्छी चीज पढ़ी हुई उनको बहुत अच्छे से याद है. एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन आया जो कि उससे रिलेटेड नहीं है, बहुत ही छोटा सा कनेक्शन है, बहुत ही स्लाइट कनेक्शन है, जो चीज बहुत अच्छे से बहुत प्यारी चीज पढ़ी हुई है और जो एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन आया है. अब ये चीज इतने दिल के नजदीक होती है, जो हमने बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ी है, जो हमें इतनी प्यारी लगती है, ये इतनी दिल के नजदीक होती है कि एट एनी कॉस्ट वी वांट टू राइट दैट थिंग इन द एग्जाम इवन इफ दैट हैज नॉट बीन आस्क्ड. दैट इज रॉन्ग. That is not right. Let us just imagine that you are in a restaurant and I am the chef and you are the patron or you are the consumer. Okay, now you have not asked for, let us say, sabudana khichdi, but sabudana khichdi is very close to my heart for any number of reasons, and even if you have not asked for it, I am making you eat sabudana khichdi. Will you enjoy that? You will not enjoy that. So answer what has been asked. जो आपको पूछा जा रहा है वो आप जवाब दीजिए. डू नॉट इंक्लूड अननेसेसरी पॉइंट्स. फालतू के पॉइंट्स बाहर से मत लेकर आइए. जो पूछा गया है उतना जवाब दीजिए. ये होता है कवरेज के बारे में। तो दोनों चीजें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, आंसर व्हाट हैज बीन आस्क्ड एंड डू नॉट इंक्लूड व्हाट हैज नॉट बीन आस्क्ड। ये दोनों चीजों को आपको ध्यान में रखना है एंड देन योर कवरेज विल बी इन द राइट डायरेक्शन। लेट अस टॉक अबाउट बैलेंस. How do you write sort of a balanced answer? So if the question is unidimensional, focus on that one dimension and finish off your answer. If the question is multidimensional, focus on all the aspects of the question and give adequate justice to all aspects of the question, right? Give appropriate weightage to all dimensions. पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव दोनों चीजों को इंक्लूड करने की कोशिश करिए एज पर द नीड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन। अगर आपको क्वेश्चन दिख रहा है कि वो पॉजिटिव चीजें ज्यादा मांग रहा है या पॉजिटिव चीजें ओनली मांग रहा है, तो आप पॉजिटिव चीजों को दे दीजिए। अगर वो नेगेटिव चीजें ज्यादा मांग रहा है या ओनली नेगेटिव चीजें मांग रहा है, तो दोनों नेगेटिव चीजें दे दीजिए। पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव दोनों मांग रहा है तो पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव को मिक्स करके दे दीजिए। उस प्रकार से आपको एक बैलेंस्ड आंसर लिखने की कोशिश करनी है। How do we bring authenticity or specificity in your answer? Let us say that you're talking about Indian political system, so you should try to include articles from the constitutions, right? In article from the Indian constitution in your answer. Let us say that you're talking about any particular area. Let us say you're talking about the labor codes, or you're talking about the agriculture related ordinances, or let us say that you're talking about legislation which have been enacted by the parliament for empowerment of women in India. So if you're talking about these areas, obviously you should include laws related to these areas, the name of the laws related to these areas as a part of your answer, right? Let us say that you're talking about environment, right? So various international treaties which have been signed, or various protocols which have been put into place, right? You should mention those protocols, treaties as a part of your answer. By doing this, by specifically having these points, articles, laws, treaties, you give the examiner an idea that you're thoroughly prepared and you know this topic in depth. By not including these articles, by not including these laws, by not including these treaties, और गोलमोल आंसर लिख रहे हो, राइट? तो उससे क्या एग्जामिनर को मालूम पड़ेगा कि हाँ, कैंडिडेट को कुछ ना कुछ आइडिया है, थोड़ा बहुत जानता है, लेकिन पूरे तरीके से नहीं जानता। क्योंकि अगर पूरे तरीके से जानता होता तो आर्टिकल्स, लॉज, ट्रीटीज लिख लिख कर बात करता था। तो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि आपको आर्टिकल्स, लॉज, ट्रीटीज वगैरह मालूम होने चाहिए, एग्जाम्पल्स और मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट डेटा मालूम होना चाहिए, अच्छी केस स्टडीज और रेलेवेंट स्कीम्स के नाम मालूम होने चाहिए, करंट अफेयर्स के अंदर इंपॉर्टेंट डेवलपमेंट्स मालूम होने चाहिए। और इन सारी चीजों को व्हेन यू प्रेजेंट इन योर आंसर, let us say as value addition points, value does get added. Examiner does get convinced that yes, this candidate has a very strong idea about this particular matter, and therefore it is my duty to at least give average marks, and if possible give above average mark to this aspirant for this question. That is what these articles, laws, treaties, examples, data points, case studies, schemes and current affairs ka integration will help you in achieving. So giving the appropriate coverage, having a balanced answer, the right appropriately balanced answer, right, that will be helpful, right, in getting you closer to average marks. Having authenticity, having specificity will help you in getting above average marks. That is the kind of idea that you should try to develop. If you give only the names of articles or the names of laws and you do not give the aju-baju ka supporting arguments, right, you do not give the appropriate coverage, your answer is not well balanced and you have just written one case study, that will also not fetch you marks, right? It is important to look at this entire thing in a continuum. This is basically a continuum from here to here. Your answer should have the proper coverage, it should be well balanced and it should be authentic, it should be specific. ये सारी चीजों को आपको साथ में लेकर चलना है, तब जाकर आपको मजा आएगा, राइट? अब ये आपने अच्छा काम कर दिया, you have given the coverage, you have given a balanced answer, you have been authentic, you have been specific, right? How can you spoil this? You can spoil this by using language which is irritating for the examiner to read and by presenting your paper in a pathetic manner. That is how you can spoil your impression. So you should be very careful that so far as the language is concerned, the flow should be right. Like for example, we talked about introduction, body and conclusion. Within the body we spoke about subheading 1 and matter related to that, subheading 2 matter related to that. So that indicates a flow to the examiner, right? That you're starting off with, let us say, a definition, or you're starting off with, let us say, the theme of the topic. Thereafter you're exploring the various aspects of the question and thereafter you're providing a conclusion. That indicates flow, right? So if you can have this kind of flow in your answer, that will be very well appreciated. बिकॉज इट विल कम्युनिकेट टू द एग्जामिनर दैट यू आर वेरी क्लियर माइंडेड, कि आपको बहुत एग्जैक्टली मालूम है कि आपको क्या बोलना है, एंड दैट विल बी वेरी हेल्पफुल. You should be grammatically correct. Anchit sir gave me a very beautiful description in the afternoon when I was asking about this session to sir that how should we what should we discuss in this session. Sir said कि अविनाश just imagine that आपने जो है नोटपैड के ऊपर बहुत सारी चीजें टाइप कर दी जल्दीबाजी के अंदर, राइट. लेट अस से दैट यू आर राइटिंग एन आंसर ऑन द नोटपैड. नोटपैड तो बताता नहीं है कि ग्रामर में क्या मिस्टेक हो रही है, नोटपैड तो बताता नहीं है कि स्पेलिंग में क्या मिस्टेक हो रही है, राइट. एंड लेट अस अज्यूम कि मैं एग्जामिनर हूं और मैंने आपके नोटपैड में लिखे हुए चीज को कॉपी करके वर्ड डॉक्यूमेंट के ऊपर उतार के देखा और सारे वर्ड्स लाल 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 हो गए, या कि आपको दिखाई दे रहा है कि स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक से, बिकॉज वर्ड डॉक्यूमेंट स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक दिखा देगा. सो जस्ट इमेजिन दैट यू टाइप द आंसर आउट ओवर देयर इन द एग्जाम and there are spelling mistake after spelling mistake after spelling mistake. How will the examiner give you marks? If you are making stupid errors, if the question is matlab in one part of your answer you are writing in present tense, in the other part of your answer you are suddenly changing to past tense, future tense, कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आने लग रहा है, that will be very irritating. So you have to be grammatically correct, which doesn't mean that you have to be extremely worried about this aspect, because I've already told you कि आप short sentences लिख सकते हैं, आप points के अंदर लिख सकते हैं. So the moment you start writing in points, the moment you start writing in shorter sentences, you will not make huge grammatical blunders. But your spelling mistake वगैरह is not expected at this stage of the examination, so be very careful about that. And there is something about vocabulary that is really crucial. If you are writing answers related to environment, तो वो एक particular vocabulary होनी चाहिए, sustainable development की and so on and so forth. If you are writing about poverty, inequality and unemployment, तो उससे related एक vocabulary होनी चाहिए. तो हर chapter के ना कुछ words होते हैं, right? हर issue के कुछ important words होते हैं, and if those words related to that issue, if they appear in your answer, then that helps you in saving other words. It helps you in giving a proper impression to the examiner that yes, you know the issue that you are talking about. So having these right set of words, having these appropriate words, right, that will be very helpful in the examination. If we talk about non-linguistic elements, right, answer should look good. So I know that you are not writing the answer, you are typing the answer, I know that, but like I explained to you in the previous slide, that if you can make sure दैट कैप्स ऑन करके आपने सब हेडिंग 1 सब हेडिंग 2 दे दिया और 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 करके आपने पॉइंट्स से जचा के आपने आंसर दे दिए, और आपके मेन वर्ड जो मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट आइडिया अगर आपने उसको कैप्स ऑन करके दे दिया, तो उससे भी तो आपका आंसर अच्छा ही लगेगा ना, right? So please make sure that your answer looks good, because anything that looks good, right, many a times examiner sort of may overlook the shortcomings of that thing which is looking good, right? It is human tendency that if something is looking good, right, if something appears good, and even if there are certain shortcomings, right, so we will ignore those shortcomings because that thing is looking good, right? So that is the same kind of psychology which will be applicable when the examiner is checking your answer copy. If your answer copy is looking good, and let us say that you have given few points lesser than what you should have given, there is a possibility that he or she may not penalize you heavily for overlooking those things or for omitting those things, because otherwise आपका पेपर अच्छा लग रहा है, देखने में मजा आ रहा है, तो पेपर अच्छा लगना चाहिए, उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा ध्यान देना चाहिए. Use short sentences, right? It is easier for the examiner to read, it is easier for the examiner to understand. Use paragraphs and pointers. If you are changing the idea, change the paragraph. If you are going to the next point, change the point. It indicates that everything is in an orderly fashion, right? So these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind, right? And as much as you can also use flowcharts. Now you may think that how to create flowcharts on keyboard. You can simply type dash and that आगे वाला sign, forward वाला bracket, right? And you can create a flowchart. So because that will help you in saving words, it will help you in presenting your ideas, right? So if you are talking about a complex topic, right, and you want to sort of say that stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, or level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, or the first link of the chain, second link of the chain, third link of the chain, fourth link of the chain, something like that. So what you can do is type a word, type dash and आगे वाला arrow, आगे वाला bracket, right, and that way you can sort of give a flow chart, right? So these elements, if these elements are there in your answer, your answer will look good, your answer will be appearing good, and your answer will actually be good. So please try and incorporate these elements in your answer. Going ahead, we are going to dive deep into how to write a good introduction, how to write a good body, how to write an appropriate conclusion, so that you are very sure about every aspect of this descriptive answer writing paper. EduTap has come out with a lot of videos to guide you, and will come out with a lot of videos to guide you further. And if you are joining our course, obviously you will be benefited to a huge extent, because we'll be personally there for you, hand holding you, helping you out in every which way is possible, right? So keep this in mind, right? Now I'll take up some of your questions for this, right? So let us see what questions you all have, right? So from experience of SEBI phase 2 descriptive exam recently, please shed some light on that. So I've shed the light on that based upon the experience of, you know, aspirants who have written these kind of examinations, right? It is possible even in these formats to, you know, approach the way the things have been presented to you. So that idea of, you know, what students have faced has already been incorporated in this video, right? So if there are any questions, you can ask those questions over here. Otherwise, we will close these sessions over here. If you have anything, you know, you want to ask us anything, you want to discuss anything with us, you can always write to us on hello@edutap.co.in, and the number is 8146207241. In working hours, you can call on this number and we will be there for you. With this, we'll bring this video to an end. Thank you very much. All the very best, and Jai Hind.